In this video, we will be giving an in-depth look at ISL Online's user management options. The email address we use to register to islonline.com is the main account. However, when working with a team, the main account can create additional users who may also host remote desktop sessions, as well as add and share computers and computer groups. So let's say that a new team member joins the company. As an administrator, we click on the administration menu on the left to our islonline.com web console and open the Users tab. From there, we can click on Create User, type in their name, give them a username, an email address, assign them a password, and click Create User. We now have an ISL Online user who we can grant computer access to, as well as define their settings. Of course, it's also worth mentioning that should we ever need to export the information about these users, we can do so by clicking the Export CSV button and clicking Export. If we click anywhere within the row of the newly created user, we get a menu to the right side with the options to change the name, email, and password. We can also change certain settings for this particular user. For example, if we click on Edit Settings and select the ISL Lite tab, we can configure the user account in such a way where it will only be able to establish remote desktop sessions while using a specific IP or MAC address via the Desk Code Request IP filter. Alternatively, we can also configure the user account to block any connections from a specific IP or MAC address. If we click on the Using Filters link right here, we will be redirected to a help page with the filter syntax as well as some examples. We should always remember to save our changes. Now keep in mind, it is also possible to apply these changes to every user by clicking on Administration and navigating to the Main Settings tab. Okay, if we head back to the Users tab and open our Created Users menu, we will then be able to see the settings we just configured. Finally, we have an option to disable the user. This will make it so that the user can no longer log in, but all of the shared computers they own are still accessible by other users. As we can see here, the username is stricken through, meaning the user is now disabled. We can, of course, undo this by clicking on Enable User. We'll explain how to delete a user in a moment. In the meantime, another useful thing we can do is head over to the User Groups tab and click on Create Group. Once we have provided it with a name, we can then click on Add User and select our new user from the dropdown, along with a few others. Once we click on Create Group, we can then share computers with this user group by heading over to the Computer Groups tab. Once again, clicking anywhere within the row of a computer group will open its menu. We can then click on Add Member and select the user group we just created. As we can see here in the ISL Lite Share menu of the computer group in question, anybody added to that user group will now be able to access the computer group as well as the computers within it. We can, of course, also just select an individual user from the Add Member menu of a computer group, in case we ever need to make an exception for a particular user. Now, if we need to delete a user, this can be done by going to the Independent Users tab, which is found on the left side menu right below Administration, clicking More to the right of the user, and selecting Delete User. If we delete a user, we will also delete all of the computers that are owned by that user unless we switch ownership to another user beforehand, which is why we'd need to enter the number of computers that user owns as a precaution before the user is deleted. We'll demonstrate that in another video. In the meantime, let's head back to the Independent Users tab and look at a few more things it has to offer. Instead of creating one user at a time, another option is to go with Import Users from CSV. In this case, we simply prepare a CSV file with the username, email, and full name of a single user separated by semicolons and one user per row. We can then upload that file by clicking on Choose Files, selecting it, and clicking on Review Users. Once islonline.com has checked the file for errors, We can then choose whether or not we would like to send a welcome email to the new users, and click on Import Users. Once we go back to the Users tab, we will see the new entries. Lastly, we have the end of session notes. If we click on the Customizations menu, we can enable the end of session dialog, which is simply a dialog that will pop up at the end of every session from now on, allowing the operator or the client side to add some notes about the session. Those notes can then be accessed in the report section of the ISLOnline.com web console. To enable them for the operator's side, select Simple Dialog from the ISLite Desk option. And for the remote side, select Simple Dialog from the ISLite Client option, and then click Set Customizations. Of course, this can also be done for all of our users by clicking Domain Settings and Customizations. For a more detailed guide, do have a look at our End of Session Notes video. That was our user management. If you have any questions, do contact us via our live chat. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.